Okay, I think we're ready to go. Welcome everybody to this special one-day post-election edition of Streets for All Happy Hour. We're very excited to have Ara Najarian with us, who chairs seemingly every board, LA Metro, Metrolink, as well as a council member for the city of Glendale. We are going to give you a general org update on Streets for All, a recap of our election, a sneak preview of some state stuff we're working on, go over a few wins and fails of the month, and then we'll get to our conversation with Ara. Our icebreaker this time is, if you could wave a wand, what improvement would you make to Metro or Metrolink? So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with that and give an exciting org update. If I could wave a wand, I think I would electrify Metrolink. I think that would have an enormous benefit to the entire system. I know it's an expensive improvement, but that would be mine. So really exciting update for you guys. We are growing up as an organization. To date, we have been an independent expenditure committee, a very small local PAC. We just formed a new 501c4. We're excited to announce that we've raised over $400,000 to hire a full-time staff. And we now have a relationship with California YIMBY, and via their YIMBY Education Fund, we can accept 501c3 dollars. We're also excited to have now a full-time team. I'm joining as CEO of the new 501c4. Baba, who's been on our steering committee, is the co-director of the state policy team, and Mark Vuksovich is the other co-director of the state policy team. So we're going to have the three of us to start, and we're going to grow it over time. And this opens up a whole new world of opportunities for us. We can now apply for grants that used to be off limits to us because we weren't at 501c3. So very excited. I'm now going to turn over to Olga, who will give us an election recap in terms of what we know now, and we'll go from there. Olga.
Hey, everyone. I know all of you are relieved to not ever receive a single elections related email from me again for the next 2 months. But just a quick update. We have had some really awesome wins. Most races right now are too close to call, but I want to highlight the following folks who have absolutely slammed it. Kenneth Mejia, blowout last night, completely incredible to see somebody run on such a cool platform, just defeat an establishment politician so soundly. We're so excited with that endorsement. County Measure A is super far ahead. Our entire Monterey Park City Council slate completely crushed it, running on pro-transit platforms, which in Monterey Park, if some of you attended our debate, you probably remember that Monterey Park had some issues with Measure R funds. So this is very exciting. And then, of course, Laura Friedman is reelected to the assembly, and Lola Smallwood Cuevas. It's a little early to call, but I'm feeling very confident about it, which is why she's up there, is joining the state Senate. So we have a lot of allies we're going to be able to work with. Michael, if you could hit the next slide. This is a breakdown of the races we are still waiting on. The green check marks show who's already won. We're kind of low-key calling 2 of our Santa Monica council candidates as well. We're still waiting on the 3rd seat, but overall, 9 of our folks have outright won. Out of 27 total endorsements. We're still, a lot of these are looking very, very good. We're just nervous to call stuff. The next update is going to come on Friday. So watch our socials if you want to keep up with that. And then, yeah, just a final thank you to every single person who came out and text banked, knocked doors, and phone banked. This feels like the most political activity we've ever done. And it was really awesome to meet some of you for the first time in person. So thank you so much, everyone. And for those who haven't heard, before I hand it over to Baba, I just wanted to mention, we do have a PAC fund, and we spent more than $40,000 this election cycle. A lot of that went towards social media ads. We did a big mailer for Hugo. We did ads for Aaron Darling and others. If you want to help us fund our little PAC fund to get folks elected, we are trying to replenish the war chest. So I've added a link down there. This is our C4 money. Oh, and then if I could wave my magic wand, I would wish for better weekend service on Metrolink. I know that's a whole infrastructure discussion, but we said magic wand. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bubba to talk about our state stuff.
We can service for sure. The thing I would do if I had a magic wand would be to put a bunch of affordable housing without any parking on metro stations and Metrolink stations. Pretty obvious, but it's still important. Okay, so on the state team, we're really excited to move into 2023 after having a really awesome 2022. We got a lot of bills passed. 4 out of our 5 bills that we sponsored and wrote ourselves were passed into law, which we were extremely stoked about. And we have basically expanded. We've gotten a lot of new volunteers, and so we've split ourselves into 3 main teams. An advocacy team, a communications team, and an analysis team. So the advocates are really on the ground floor with the legislators and their staffs, working on these bills and getting them through each stage of the legislative process, through committee hearings, to the floor votes, everything. The communications team is, basically in charge of all, communications out to our subscribers and our members, trying to make sure our advocates know what they can do to support these bills. And then our analysis team is really focused on the implications of every policy that we design, the amendments that each policy will inevitably go through. So these are kind of the 3 teams that we are organizing around, and shout out to Mark Vuksovich, who's on the call, who's my co-director of state policy this is his brainchild, and it's great. So if you're interested in being a part of the state team, please go to streetsforall.org/get-involved. I'll put it in the chat. And we'd love to have you. If you go to the next slide, we also reached out to our members for bill ideas that they wanted us to consider running for 2023. And we have an amazing list of ideas that we are currently shopping to legislators. And this is not the definitive list, but it's a list of some of the coolest and most pithy ones. But unbundling parking from rent, so that people don't have to pay for parking they don't use, and we can hopefully save housing costs. Decriminalizing fare evasion, that's a big one that has been done in other parts of the country. Creating a pedestrian bill of rights, more details on that later. We've already just passed a parking minimums bill, but why not parking maximums? We want to start exploring that and what that would look like near transit. Prohibiting requiring a driver's license on job, housing, or bank loan applications, because that is discriminatory against those who don't drive. Increasing registration fees for vehicles over 6,000 pounds to help pay for transit priorities. Those huge cars are very dangerous. And legalizing bodegas and corner stores. So you'll see some housing stuff on this list, things that, straddle housing and transportation. Obviously, those are inextricably linked. And that's why we're so excited about this partnership with California EMB. Some of these things are really going to be super powerful with our 2 organizations being so intertwined and working together. If you go to the next slide, here are some critical dates for us when we think about the 2023 legislative session. The end of January, January 20, not the very end of January, but January 20 is going to be where we have to submit, or legislators have to submit the bills they want to run to basically the legal team that creates these bills, Legislative Council. So all of our ideas basically have to be bought or shopped by a legislator by that date. And then by February 17, all of those bills have to be effectively introduced if they're a new bill. So that's the timeline we're working under. And we have just the next 2 months really to get those bills prepared and ready for legislators to begin running them. So we'll have a lot more info soon. And I'm going to go to wins and fails of the month, because the first one happened in Culver City. Yay. Parking minimums have been eliminated citywide in Culver City, which we're super excited about. We did the work of electing a 3-seat majority of progressives on city council, all 3 of whom ran on parking reform. Yasmin Amani McMorrin, Daniel Lee, and Alex Fish. And, this went through a long multi-year political process where we went through several official committees in the city. The Housing and Homelessness Committee, the Planning Commission, all recommended this. Finally, it landed on the city council desk, and we got a zoning code amendment where outright eliminated parking minimums for the whole city. And we'd really recommend, if you're looking at doing advocacy in your own city, doing this, it was a very quick zoning code amendment to eliminate it citywide. It really didn't take much staff time. So before you start talking about parking maximums and all that stuff, that's a more complicated discussion. Just get minimums eliminated if you're an advocate looking to do something cool. So we're really excited it takes effect next year, and we're going to be able to build cheaper housing and incentivize less VMT and driving. And I'll turn it over to somebody for Metro Bike Share. I don't know who though.
That's me. Thanks, Bubba.
Oh.
If I had to wave my magic wand for Metro or Metrolink, it will be about Metro, and a lot to choose from. But one, and I've even since changed my mind in the past 24 hours, is making every bus stop a bus shelter to give the entire system a sorely lacking sense of place, and also just address the core rider concerns. Of course, super expensive, timely, but I think that would make the system really nice. And so happy to report on this. Maybe win, maybe fail. Just recently, Metro's Operations Committee, if you've been following, voted to privatize the Metro Bike Share system and open it up to an RFP to select a vendor in the near future. So we see two possibilities. Well, not two possibilities, but we see both the positive and the negative about this. Of course, it could lead to faster adoption and expansion of the bike share program, and eliminate the need for the local cities to the smaller cities to spend their local dollars, which they're having to do so right now. And it could just be an overall better integration of cost structure and just be super subsidized. But also it could lead to the very predictable issues we have whenever we privatize anything that's a public good. And so we're not exactly sure how this is going to play out, but you can rest assured that we will keep this community posted on any opportunity to chime in and share their feedback with Metro via our call to actions and any other method we can use. So stay tuned, and yeah. And now I'll pass it to Katrina. Yep.
Thanks, Kyle. If I could make any change to Metro or Metrolink, I would make the buses free again. It was great when they were free during the pandemic. It really helped a lot from an operations standpoint, reducing dwell time. It made the buses accessible. It made operators' jobs a lot easier. And I look forward to a future in which that could happen. For those of you who are following the Metro Fair story, Metro also has a committee meeting on this next week, and look for an email from us on that for information about how you can make comment. However, I'm here to talk about the West Side Bike Network, which is a new livable streets project that LADOT has headed up. You might have heard us talk about this at the last happy hour. It's a series of north-south bike corridors that LADOT is going to develop. And we're excited to announce that we are officially partnering as a community-based organization to help get the word out locally in neighborhoods. And this includes not only social media pushes, emails, as you've seen us do in the past, but also includes a lot of door-to-door direct outreach, including door hanging, as you can see. And I want to especially thank Olga for her work in coordinating boots on the ground, and stay tuned for more opportunities to help and more opportunities to share your feedback online at the LADOT Westside Mobility survey map link on the slide, and we'll drop it in the chat as well. Now I'll turn it back over to Michael.
Thanks, Katrina. Our last win in this case are the San Vicente bike lanes. We started working on this in 2020 in the height of COVID under ADAPT, and they finally got implemented. So this picture was taken about 2 weeks ago. These are new protected bike lanes between Almost Olympic and La Brea. The almost part is frustrating. They stop a few blocks short. This was over 2 years of advocacy by us and others. And we now need to get these lanes further north to Wilshire to connect to both the Beverly Hills side, which is putting in bike lanes and the existing bike lanes north of Wilshire and San Vicente, a great first last mile for the future Purple Line, as well as south to Midtown Crossing, where San Vicente meets Venice Boulevard. So if you want to help out, you can subscribe to our emails and socials and volunteer at streetsforall.org/get-involved. We're at Streets for All on all the major social media platforms. We have merch. Every purchase becomes a donation to support the cause. We just add kid sizes. And a quick sneak preview, we're going to be taking December off, but we're really excited to have Nithya Raman, Councilmember for District 4, back on January 11th at 5 p.m. And I will also mention, even though we don't have a slide for this, that on December 9th from 6 to 9 p.m., we're going to have a Streets for All in-person holiday party / fundraiser. So stay tuned for that. We'll get you the information on that. It's going to be at this beautiful loft in the Arts District in downtown, and we're really excited about it. So excited to have Ara Najarian with us. Ara has served as a member of the Glendale City Council since 2005 and has served as mayor for 4 terms. He's currently the chair of both Metro and Metrolink. He's been a member of the San Fernando Valley COGS, representing Glendale since 2010, and has served 2 years as chairman. He also sits on the board of directors of the Hollywood Burbank Airport Authority in his free time. Welcome, Ara. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be with everyone for this happy hour.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Bubba, who's going to ask our first question. Bubba.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here, Ara. So what in your journey led you to be passionate about transportation and mobility? And how has your historical perspective been an asset to you on both Metro and Metrolink boards?
Great question. But first, I'd like to tell you that I'd like to grant you part of your wish with your magic wand. One small step, and that was regarding affordable housing near transit stops. In fact, tomorrow in Boyle Heights at Lorena Plaza, we are going to be doing the groundbreaking for a 49-unit affordable housing, which will also include housing for unhoused residents right at that location. And it's right adjacent to our East Side Gold Line, which is a great joint use with the Metro and our housing providers. So Metro is very, very keen to your wishes, and we've done several projects, and we're going to continue to do that. So we're very committed. So how did I get involved in all this stuff? So I started way back when I wanted to get involved in the community. And I became a member of the City of Glendale's Transportation and Parking Commission, where we worked on transit issues and we worked on parking issues. And it was thoroughly fulfilling, and I enjoyed doing that. I then, several years after that, got elected to the City Council, and I realized that the City of Glendale should have a seat on the Metro board. It is a very influential and, they say powerful board. I'm not sure what that means, but, as you know, it deals with trains, buses, roadways, and I was encouraged by the support I got from my northern county cities, and that's the group that I represent. And I was elected. And once I got to the Metro board, I realized that, hey, transportation is really about interconnectivity and options. And that's how my attention turned to the Metrolink board. And I was then selected to become a member of Metrolink. And it's great. It's a great perspective, because as being, regardless of whether you're chairman or not, being on those two boards, you can really work on the interconnectivity, because so many people are they're using that first mile, last mile to get to a Metrolink, to get to a Metro rail or a Metro bus, and then again take a last mile to get to work or to home. So it's really I mean, it's a fascinating, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir probably. I mean, it's a fascinating and game-changing and quality of life issue to help people get around without having to get into a car, drive through traffic, pay expensive parking rates, or circle around and try and find parking to get to where you have to go every single day of the week. And it's really become a passion. You know, a lot of this, I don't have any, let's say, formal training in transportation, such as those with, you know, urban planning backgrounds or engineering backgrounds, but everything that I've learned, I think, has come from some very good hands-on experience, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And things have changed. I mean, let me tell you, just during my tenure on the Metro board, things, you know, the world has changed, and Metro's position on so many items have changed, such as fares, such as electrification, such as integration with bicycle and pedestrian routes. The whole first mile, last mile concept, I think, has really become part of Metro's consciousness in the past 10 to 15 years. So it's great working on that. And Metro has great staffers who help us non-professional politicians, if you want to say, understand the issues and direct us and help us and nudge us towards the right decision to make transportation for the county and the region something that is going to be continually improving and continually improving the quality of life for everyone that lives out here.
Thank you. I think we're turning it over to Kyle.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So those comments really resonate with us, right? But we had a question about some recent comments. We know that cars are a big problem, source of greenhouse gas emissions, and even the EV solution is only a partial solution. So there's this present growing movement towards micro-mobility in the modes you just mentioned, the non-car modes. But given some of the recent comments you made in Glendale City Council, we're just curious where you stand on things like micro-mobility, bike lanes, bus lanes, things that would have a direct impact on getting people out of cars. More specifically, where do you stand on reallocating some of the car space towards those modes, since there's usually not enough space on the street to just put up lanes?
Right. Well, let's start with reallocating lanes. And I've been a very strong proponent for one of our new transit routes, which is the Pasadena to North Hollywood BRT. And we've put in great effort through the Eagle Rock community to get them to accept a dedicated bus lane. Glendale hasn't raised many objections yet, but I'm gonna commit that when that BRT comes through Glendale, it will have a dedicated lane for the BRT, as well as other transit. I think other transit is permitted to share it as well. We're currently working hard on the city of Burbank. If any of you folks have connections in Burbank, I was, while I was doing actually a Metrolink event today, groundbreaking, I had a chance to speak to Constantine Anthony and Nick Schultz, and the Burbank Council had previously voted against a dedicated BRT lane on their streets. I'm hoping that we can convince them to make it a true BRT with a dedicated lane In Glendale, there was an issue not long ago. I didn't think that that particular route along a major arterial was the best route for a dedicated bike lane. I would have liked to have seen it go along another equally wide street, but a street with more amenities, more shops, restaurants. It just had a little slower pace. Unfortunately, staff they didn't want to ask me, and I got kind of, peeved that, despite Metro contributing significant dollars to this roadway improvement, staff just kind of dropped it. I would have liked to work with staff on that and helped direct them to what I feel was a better route for that. And so don't take my my words in the heat of a policy discussion in any way reflecting on my reluctance to commit to micro transit. As this whole BRT thing, not only did I fight for am I fighting for the dedicated BRT lanes through this BRT route, but in the city of Glendale, I was able to use some leverage, and we're getting the price tag they put on it is about $20 million of protected bike lanes adjacent to the BRT route. So that's, I don't know, nobody ever says anything about that, but I have a little bit of dispute as to the proper alignment for another bike lane, and I'm, sort of dogged on, but I've worked hard and I'm continuing to work hard to make those extra improvements adjacent to the BRT a reality. People have different opinions as to where the best spot for a dedicated bike lane is. And I think we should respect those opinions and not necessarily presume that they are going to be, that they are against biking.
Understand. Thank you for that. I think next up is Olga.
Thanks, Kyle. So anecdotally, I have 3 friends who all live off of the Chatsworth Metrolink stop, who all work downtown. But none of them can use Metrolink because of the schedules. So off of that, my question is, for years, Metrolink users have lamented long headways, infrequent weekend service. The SCORE capital program was supposed to expand service and capacity, but Measure M only allocated 1% of funding to regional rail, unfortunately. In 2020, there was talk of a multi-county ballot measure to increase funding maybe, but that never happened. LA right now is the most super commuters of any city in the country, and these are the exact people who need regional rail to get to work. So what does the Metrolink board plan to do to fix Metrolink's funding problem? And what are some of your ideas for the future of Metrolink?
Thanks. Also very good questions. It's our intention with the SCORE program once completed to have 30-minute service throughout the system. That is going to require a total build out of our SCORE program, which is at about $11 billion. We've got some state money that we were very successful in receiving last year. I think we were at about $1 billion or $1.5 billion. The rest of the funding has to come from, mainly it has to come from Metro. So there's an interesting position that I'm in. Metro subsidizes about half of the Metrolink budget, and each director, and despite what color the money is, what pool of funding is placed, behind the scenes, there's grabbing going on, taking money away and going around. So the Metrolink funding has to remain secure. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that dedicated amount. Every budget cycle, we have to go to Metro, sort of our hat in hand, and say, please, we're going to need a little bit more money for our operations. Our capital program is okay because there seem to be a greater funding opportunities available in the capital business. It's the operational money that's going to pay for that additional service. So I've been speaking to Eli Lipman at Move LA, and in fact, we're taking, we're in the formative stages of presenting and creating a proposition that is going to give dedicated funding to Metrolink to make that a reality. Part of our problem is, Metrolink, so there's two sides to the coin. When we go to Metro and say we need more money for Metrolink service, the question Metro asks is, well, what is your ridership and how are you doing? And unfortunately, in the past 2 years, we've really been hit hard. Metrolink ridership was down, it was down 70%. It's starting to creep upward. We still haven't met what we originally thought we would return to. Why is that happening? Some people are attributing it to the new work at home policies that many businesses and companies are affording their employees. Others attribute it to just during the pandemic, driving your car wasn't as difficult an ordeal because many people were not driving into work. The freeways and roadways were more open, and they became comfortable. They left our Metrolink ridership and went to their vehicle. So we're working very hard trying to get people back into ridership. Once we get those bragging rights to show Metro and perhaps any other potential funders, including other counties which contribute to the Metrolink budget, and in that case there would be some Ventura County money potentially available. Then we can say, look where we are. We need to continue this increase in service to meet our increasing demand for ridership. So we kind of have to balance and raise service to raise ridership, to raise service to raise ridership, and it's in that sort of seesaw, if you will, that we're going to be able to get that 30-minute service that we've been looking for on our system. And there's all potentially some federal funding coming in. That really depends on who's controlling Congress and who's got good infrastructure bills that are dedicated to our railway. We've had visits by Pete Buttigieg, the secretary. We've had visits by the FRA administrator, and we've made our pitches to them. They're all very supportive of Metrolink. They realize that it's very critical. Now add into that the upcoming Olympics. So we're using, and although the Olympics are only going to be a 2 or 3 week period, and there's Paralympics for another couple weeks, we're really using that. We're trying to use the Olympics as a great excuse to get investments into the service of Metrolink, because many envision the 28 Olympics as being a car-free Olympics, where people will not need a car, will be discouraged from bringing a car to any of the events. And that can only work as if we have a robust Metrolink system, a robust metro rail, bus, microtransit, pedestrian, active transportation, bicycles, scooters, whatever it is, to get to the events, first mile, last mile, and use our systems.
Thank you. Over to Josh.
Cool. Metro has several new initiatives to reimagine public safety on transit. Most people here are probably excited about the new ambassador program. They've been writing the K and the B lines for about a month and a half. There are a number of other initiatives, including increased use of cameras, new safety contracts, and separating fare enforcement from law enforcement. And also just a few days ago, a report came out of New York City that despite adding about 1,000 police officers to the subway system, crime hasn't decreased at all. What are your priorities around reimagining public safety on Metro system?
Also a very good question. So, confession time, a year ago, or perhaps even a little longer back, maybe 2 years when this whole security issue began, I was one who felt that we needed more law enforcement on the Metro system. I was not in the majority. The Metro board decided to go a different way, to work with the ambassador program. And although I was skeptical, I have accepted that direction and am fully supporting the ambassadors. And I just want the system to be safe. I don't want any barriers. I don't want someone to say, well, I would have taken Metro, but I don't feel safe. Another but is the service isn't regular enough. Another but is the fares are too expensive. Another but is it doesn't go where I need to go. I want to eliminate those buts. I want people to be able to come on and look to Metro as their first choice for transit. I'm very hopeful on the ambassadors. I've met many of them. Yes, they have been on the K line since it's opened. I hear anecdotally that they're doing a good work. They've saved a few lives, people that were having medical emergencies. They've helped outreach to some homeless individuals. They've been great transit help desks, if you will, to explain people how to get from point A to point B using not just the Metro system, but the other systems. I really want to ramp up the ambassadors. I want to see ambassadors everywhere. I want to see them everywhere. I want to see at least one ambassador. Well, I guess they go in teams at the minimum. I want to see a team of ambassadors on every single platform, on every single rail car, on every bus. That's what we need to do. And I just want that to happen. I'm just not happy with many of the reports of people who are abandoning the Metro system because they don't feel safe. Of course, there was that survey that was publicized a week ago, I think, or it came out 2 weeks, but there were stories on it about a week ago about people not feeling safe, about women in particular and not feeling safe. That has to stop. We just can't create that barrier to using our system because we're investing so much money in that. It's what our budget is. Every potential rail line is in the $5, $6, $7, $8 billion or more of expenses. We just can't have it there, not take care of it, and not be as inviting as possible to those people that have already ridden and are familiar with our system, but also to those that are just entering the Metro ridership world. So it's a big issue, and I'm very committed. I really want to solve this problem. It can't be solved overnight, but I think we've got a good framework, and I'm hoping that we can up our ambassadors to really let people feel comfortable when they're riding.
Thank you. Speaking of Metro spending money, I wanted to ask you about Metro and its highway program. It seems that the Metro board often defers to COGS on freeway widening, or in Metro speak, capacity improvements. For example, Metro spent $1 billion to widen the 405 about 15 years ago and add a lane in each direction, and it took 9 months for traffic to get worse compared to before the project. So I think because of induced demand, it's generally accepted that widening doesn't really solve anything and it costs a lot of money. In fact, if Metro builds all 363 planned lane miles of highways in the next 30 years, it will not only negate all the greenhouse gas emission savings from our huge rail and bus investments, but it will actually make it worse. So in other words, we're spending tens of billions of dollars to make climate change and traffic worse. So I wanted to ask you, what is your stance on highway widening? And are you generally in favor of stopping widening and instead using those resources to build bus lanes, bike lanes, and more rail?
Well, I want to add to the premise of your question and amend it, if you will. Those damn 405 lanes ended up costing us close to $2 billion because there was about an $800 million lawsuit at the end with it was either Kiewit or Skanska, I'm not sure, to make that a reality. And how stupid is that now, looking back? That money could have been put into the Sepulveda transit corridor, and we would have been, I don't know how far that would have gone depending on what our mode is, but it is, I guess it was, you could say it was a waste, and a big waste. And it was unfortunately pushed by several directors from the West Side who felt that was, they felt that was a solution. I don't think they did it knowingly. I mean, no one does this knowingly, and they were perhaps a little ignorant on the whole concept of supply-induced demand. And boy, it's embarrassing to say traffic levels are worse than before that project was completed. So yeah, so that was the bad news. I fought very hard against a freeway expansion effort, and it was the 710 tunnel, which was going to go from Alhambra underneath South Pasadena and Pasadena and connect the 710 to the 210 freeway. And I fought long and hard for that. And I've got the battle scars for that. I pissed off royally then Supervisor Mike Antonovich, who was a strong proponent of the tunnel. He really felt that was the way to do it. I just kept making noise at the Metro board and kept poking holes in the arguments. So he got mad at me. And when I was going to run for county supervisor in 2016, it's like, no, you're a jerk. I'm going to support Catherine Barger, who's a great person. But I think if I had been supportive of the freeway tunnel, I think he would have been very much more inclined to support me as county supervisor. And I could have been speaking to you as county supervisor now. But I don't support. I mean, I think here's the issue. We have the test case. The 405 freeway is our test case, and it doesn't work. So we are foolish to continue to do those capacity enhancements. Now, in all fairness, I am supporting some freeway lane additions in the North County of LA on the 14 freeway. And the only reason I'm doing that is because it is a very screwed up freeway where it goes from 3 lanes to 2 lanes to 3 lanes to 2 lanes. And there's a lot of accidents caused by vehicles switching down and coming out. And those folks in the North County really don't have any other option. Aside from the Metrolink service, which isn't quite where we want it yet. They have come to us without fail, residents, COGS, cities alike, and said, please, we want some investment in clearing up these lanes and making the, it's not a capacity improvement, but it's a safety improvement happen. I don't see that as being hypocritical or contradictory to the position, but I am only basing that on the very high number of accidents caused by that 3-lane to 2-lane and then back again configuration. So that's how I feel. I'm not an absolutist, but I'm very reluctant to do your typical, freeway expansion, whether it was the South 710 or in any other, part of the county.
Thank you. Over to Katrina for our last question, and then we'll go to the audience.
Thanks. So we've got a couple questions specific to BRT. You alluded to having some ongoing discussions with Burbank, and we'd like to know what is the vision for Metro building a network of BRT lanes while individual cities still have the ability to opt out? And our second BRT question is, Metro is about to advertise for an RFP to do environmental clearance on a BRT line along Broadway, even though CEQA specifically exempts bus projects. Why is Metro wasting taxpayer dollars and spending years doing environmental reports it no longer has to do under SB 288?
I don't know why Metro is doing that, and you have me at a loss for that. The only, and I'm just sort of speculating with this part of the answer, is that Metro wants to show that it has done its due diligence, that it has looked at the impacts that a BRT bus lane would cause in any particular area. That's speculation. We're not in the habit. Well, I don't want to say. I was going to say we're not in the habit of wasting money, but I just told you how we wasted money on the 405 extra lane there. But we don't want to waste money intentionally. I think it's probably just a level of community outreach that goes in the EIR and evaluation of the impacts that will make the project more palatable. Because back to the first part of your question, and that is, you get a Yahoo city council and they can block a BRT lane, which kills the whole purpose of BRT. And it has to be done through advocacy, through public pressure, through education, to let folks know that there has to be a clear understanding that a BRT lane, a dedicated bus lane, isn't going to cause your city to crumble to the ground, that people are going to become familiar with it, people are going to use it, and it's going to improve everything in their city. Now, if they were going to do a rail line through the city, some people would, I think you'd have less objection. I think people look at BRT as something a little less than an advanced transit or a quality transit line, which it isn't. I mean, it is a quality transit line. It's going to have those great stations that Kyle was talking about. It's going to have access. We can integrate with proper planning. We can integrate bicycle lanes and make it truly an asset, not just to the particular city, but to the whole region. And that's something we need to push for. We can't go building light rail. I mean, I don't think we can keep up that pace. It's way too expensive, takes way too much time to complete. I think our default should be into BRT, dedicated lanes, very nice amenities, proper planning in it, including all the bicycle amenities that people want to get to that last mile on their trip. And we need to embrace it. I mean, the Orange Line is a great success. They kind of had their built-in right-of-ways, so they weren't taking traffic lanes, travel lanes, but I think that's what we need to do, and we need a lot of support. I wish I could get everyone from Streets for All to help with the advocacy with the city of Burbank. They've had a new election. It may be just the right time to help that become a reality. CD 14, I think, the Kevin DeLeon area. Kevin finally embraced it, although he was opposing the dedicated lane for a long time, or at least undecided. So we're there. This is going to be a quick build. It's going to bring great opportunity. Hopefully, it will be a model for future further BRT projects throughout the county that people will go for. Get cars off the road, get people on the BRT, get the bikes planned in somehow, whether it's a dedicated lane or it's somehow sort of an encouraged mode off the BRT. I think that's what we need to do.
Thank you, Ara. So we're now going to go into some audience questions. And let me just ask, do you have like 3 or 4 minutes past 6 o'clock, or a hard stop at 6?
No, I do.
Okay, we have a lot of good questions. The first question is, do you ride Metro regularly, and are you proud of the system?
So I ride Metrolink to my Metro meetings and my Metrolink meetings. I ride a Metro bus 90 from my house to Glendale City Hall. I'm very fortunate. It goes right there. And when I say I ride it, it's probably 1 or 2 times every 2 weeks. So in a month, maybe about 4 times a month. And I use the local municipal Glendale B line just to pop around the city and go down. My office is on Brand Boulevard, so I can pop down to Brand Boulevard. Actually, I take the B line to get to the Metrolink station. That's my last mile, first mile, last mile. And I'm lucky. I'm lucky because it's very convenient. I'm just situated in such a way that I work at Union Station. B line goes to our Glendale train station, and it just works out. So yes, I do ride.
Thank you. And by the way, on that Burbank BRT, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we helped build the Beautiful Boulevard website, and we're part of that coalition that helped convince Kevin DeLeon to eventually support that. And we'd be happy to work with you on Burbank. We have several endorsed candidates that are likely to be next council members.
We may need your help in Glendale too. I've committed to it, but it's good having some community support, because it's not good if the community and residents feel that it's being driven from the top down. Najarian says this, and I do have support on council. Dan Brotman, I'm sure you're very familiar with, and a couple others support that. So we could get the votes for that. That's why I say that's not a problem, but it's good if we had the grassroots support with an organization like yours. I think it gives us much more credibility, street cred, if you will.
We're happy to help. Next audience question. Metro continues to prioritize expensive, low ridership projects like the East Side Gold Line, while high ridership projects like Vermont and Crenshaw North remain in the distant future. Would you support taking another look at the Measure M schedule?
Well, everybody on the board wants us to take a look at the Measure M schedule. We have strict statutory limitations on how often we can look at that schedule and how many votes are necessary to change that. So I think we can only look at that schedule every 10 years, and we need a super majority of the board to make such changes, to to reallocate or to reprioritize those items. East Side, I think it has some funding challenges. Crenshaw North is gonna bring great ridership. I mean, just go north, whatever route you pick. You know, there's incredible ridership there, but they're not very high up in that priority list because it's a relatively new project that came to formulation after the original Crenshaw line was prepared and completed. So it's going to take some work there. So do I support looking and reprioritizing? Yes, I do. I definitely do. I think projects that are just too expensive and don't have that ridership forecast should be put on the side, and we need to prioritize. You know, they say get the best bang for your buck, right? That old cliche. I think we need to do the same thing. Unfortunately, we've got a very limited window that opens up every 10 years. It's like the locusts. They come up every 7 years and then they're gone, and you don't have any chance to deal with it. So yes, I would support, when the time comes, reprioritizing.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can. If we could do quick answers if possible.
Sure. Okay.
On the Sepulveda transit corridor, monorail or heavy rail?
So my mind is open on that. Monorail will be quicker. Monorail will be cheaper. A tunnel will be a little bit more capacity. It'll have a greater capacity for ridership, but way more expensive. And my mind is open at this point to see, you know, we've got those two modes marching forward. I have an open mind to see which one is going to give us, back to the previous question, the best bang for our buck, to give us ridership for the least amount of cost.
Next question. There was an interesting point in the chat. Many metro systems around the world, Tokyo, Taipei, Seoul, Paris, have amenities in the stations, shops, restaurants, bakeries, boutiques, et cetera, et cetera. And they use that revenue to pay for maintenance of restrooms and station maintenance, et cetera. Why doesn't Metro do this? And do you think they should?
One of my fondest memories that I'll probably take to my grave is descending into the Tokyo subway stations and smelling the fresh aroma of croissants and espresso greet me as I walk by the luxurious spas, convenience stores, shoe shine booths, massage stations. I mean, it was great. If you've, I haven't been to many European lately, but my most recent was Tokyo. It's an incredible experience. Metro's unfortunately, their whole business model was to keep it as Spartan as possible. And we don't even have restrooms. I mean, as you know.
Where do you stand on that?
I think we need restrooms. They need to be well monitored and regulated. It was just whoever started this system 30 years ago said, let's not do that. The only thing that's coming close to that is something at Union, the Union Station development, where it's a little bit more friendly, but it's a far cry from what we see in other systems. And I wish we could get back to some of those European or Asian models.
Is it too late? Can we retrofit stations?
I think it's too late, because it's going to involve, I mean, we could put little kiosks and things like that, but that's not the same thing that I think we see in some of those other countries and other systems. It's just too much redigging and re-engineering. It would be crazy expensive to do that.
So 2 very quick last questions. One about Glendale. Previous Glendale mayor did a bike ride with the Mayor Community Bike Ride a few years ago. Will you and are you open to participating in something similar as council member?
Yeah, just get me a bike. I don't have a bike. I'm happy to go on the bike ride. Very happy to do so.
Sounds good. What is the status of Link Union Station and when will construction begin? Don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
So we're still looking at the conceptuals on that. We had a real bang up proposal that came forward. We had to set that aside, and I think we're doing another version of it. The idea is get it done for before the Olympics. That's going to be a tight schedule to fit, but I imagine it would be this decade. We're going to see the improvements.
Great. Well, there's more questions, but we're way over time. So I just want to say thank you, Ara, for your time. Anything else you'd like to share?
No,
with
just invite me back. I'm happy to continue in this forum or in any other forum to answer questions and trade ideas and learn about the concerns that your membership has.
Thanks so much. Good night, everybody.
Okay. Good night.
See you in
Thank you.
January.